Hello and welcome to the most Monday feeling Tuesday of the year. A very happy Tuesday. Hope everyone enjoyed their Labor Day, are recovering nicely from the festivities, getting back into the swing of things. And with that being said, welcome into another episode of Hornets Daily, your one-stop shop for all things Charlotte Hornets. As always, we're presented by the good people over at FanArc, and I'm your host, Vance Ballard, but you know by now you can call me VB. I want to thank everybody for joining us out there, watching along with us today. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment down in the comment section. As you know, we enjoy watching you guys interact, seeing what you think about what's going on the show as we continue to grow and build this Hornets Daily family here on the program. Now, diving right into the docket for today, we do have quite a bit going on down in the Queen City. Still some buzz going on as we quickly approach training camp and the NBA preseason, which means the regular season is just right around the corner as well. We're going to start today off discussing our most popular and frequently talked about Charlotte Hornet, LaMelo Ball, of course. We're going to discuss some of the biggest concerns with LaMelo going into this 25-26 season, and I can guarantee you know what one of them already is. And the belief in the center position feels like it is starting to grow. It seems like the confidence is starting to build a little bit amongst that unit. We'll talk about that and discuss whether or not the Hornets can move forwards and be competitive or beyond with that unit at the 5 position. We'll discuss that today. There's been some offseason winners and losers within the Hornets organization based on the reshaping of the roster, all the moves that were made this offseason. We'll talk about who those winners and losers are as well. And then we're going to wrap today's show up discussing the rebuild that the Hornets are currently undergoing. Are they getting close to being finished? Is this team almost rebuilt? Has Jeff Peterson made the right moves? Does he feel he has done what is necessary to have this rebuild wind down and this team start to move forwards from there? We'll discuss that to finish off the show today as well. Now, you know we don't like to beat around the bush very much here on Hornets Daily. We go head first into the program, and that's exactly what we're going to do here today. Now, I just told you we're going to start today off with LaMelo Ball, talking about him. That's something we do pretty regularly here on the program, and anyone who discusses the Charlotte Hornets, it's hard to avoid bringing up LaMelo within the first few seconds of that conversation. With that, we know all of the excitement that LaMelo brings. We know all of the fun, all of the intrigue, all of the flash that he puts with his game when he's on the floor. With all of those things, though, comes expectations and then concerns on the other end as well. We know about the expectations for LaMelo coming into this season. He needs to play at it. He needs to get back to playing at that all-star level. We know about how much the Hornets are going to rely on him to be around, to be successful. So that brings us to our first concern, of course, which is LaMelo's health. We know that one pretty much goes without being said. We all understand his NBA health history. We know he's had only one season in his career where he's played more than 60 games, only played 107 games over the last 3 years. So it's been an issue keeping him on the court. That goes without saying, and him staying healthy this year is going to be vital for the Hornets' success as well as moving into the future. Getting some confidence in LaMelo's own brain that he can stay healthy for a whole year would do wonders for his career moving forward as well. But now that we know that one, what are the other major concerns for LaMelo going into this season? What is he going to need to take a step forward in and improve on, maybe cut down on as well? Zach Roberts over at Sports Illustrated, he seems to have three additional major concerns on top of LaMelo's health that he's going to take into this 25-26 season. Roberts discussed those, and they are as follows. He's concerned about what LaMelo is going to be able to do with the new talent around him. He's obviously concerned about whether or not LaMelo can improve and take another step forward on the defensive end of the floor, and can LaMelo cut down on the turnovers, or will the turnover bug come back and bite him going forward into this year? Now, these are all reasonable concerns. The one that brings the most intrigue, the one I found to be the most interesting, of course, was questioning whether or not he was going to be able to play with this new talent, with this new rebuilt roster around him. I've talked, you guys have heard it most of the summer, about this new roster and about the benefits that they're going to provide LaMelo, allowing for him to take some pressure off himself on the offensive end of the floor. Doesn't have to play hero ball every possession. Doesn't have to feel like he's got to throw up risky one-legged running three-pointers or try to overdo it by dribbling too long, working too deep into the shot clock with just him being the one touching the ball. This new talent is going to allow for some space to be created. These guys know how to move without the ball. They know their spots and how to get to them on the floor. So that I've talked about all summer. I genuinely think it's going to benefit LaMelo. It's only going to improve his game. We're going to see a much better version of him this year based on this supporting cast around him being the best one he's played with so far in the NBA. One thing I haven't thought about, though, is kind of the way Zach Roberts put it, the adjustment period that's going to come from LaMelo being around new talent, playing with new guys that he hasn't played with. Obviously, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and even Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges don't count. He's played with them as he's a little bit familiar with their game, hasn't spent a lot of time on the floor with them, of course, but he knows those guys. But the adjustment period that comes with playing with the rest of those new additions this summer, and then trying to pull the reins back a little bit and understand that he doesn't have to be Mr. Everything, that he doesn't have to do it all. He's not the only option on offense anymore. I've never thought about the adjustment period that's going to come with him trying to change his style a little bit. And I just thought, well, he's an elite passer. He'll know he's got new guys around him, and he'll utilize that skill. But it may take some time for LaMelo to fully understand, to start to trust the guys around him and realize that he doesn't have to do it all. He does have more talent than he's ever had surrounding him. So that is an interesting point by Zach Roberts. Maybe he's right. Maybe it will take a little bit of time for LaMelo to find his footing and to just get comfortable with the guys around him with this new reshaped roster. That's something that can be that'll be interesting to watch as we move forwards through training camp and into the regular season. LaMelo can also erase the ball hog and risky shot taker tags from his name this year. He can, as he's got those that added talent around him, he'll be able to utilize that passing ability, so he won't have to hold the ball as much as I mentioned, and he doesn't need to take the risky shots, the one-legged running three-pointers, the late in the shot clock fall away, turnaround jump shots, whatever that may be. LaMelo's got a little more help this summer or this season, so he doesn't have to do all of those crazy things, which leads me to the limiting turnovers concern that Zach Roberts has. I think that should be a relatively easy fix based on all of the things I've just said and the fact that LaMelo, we already know, is an elite passer. He's got passing skills that are way above average, even into the good or great range in the NBA. It's just now that he's got the players around him, he's going to be able to utilize those that passing ability. He's not going to have to dribble through double teams as often, so I don't think that the turnover bug is going to be as big of an issue this year. I think he'll be able to fairly easily limit his turnovers and even increase his assists and his playmaking skills going into this season and forward into the future. Now, the defensive end, that obviously is a big concern. That's going to be an interesting question. Health is going to play a big factor in that. Can LaMelo's ankles hold up to keep him in front of other guys, to keep him getting to around screens and helping and cutting guys off from getting to their spots? Is he going to show the improvement on that end of the floor that we think he should coming into another year this offseason? Now, to his advantage, playing to his benefit, he's got a coach like Charles Lee on his side. He spent another full offseason with him, and just being around him and getting into that mindset is almost inevitably going to at least help LaMelo improve a little bit on the defensive end. Charles Lee, hyper-focused on that end of the floor. He understands defense, and again, his mindset allows for him to help develop guys get the most, if not more than they should, out of their abilities on that end of the floor. So being around Charles Lee is going to greatly help Melo on defense. And I think while that's a concern, while the turnovers are also a concern, I don't think they should be huge, major concerns as well. And obviously, I think he's going to mesh pretty quickly and pretty easily with the rest of the talent around him. It's just going to be a matter of, can he stay on the court? That, unfortunately, the answer to that has been no throughout his career. Hopefully this season goes differently and we can keep LaMelo on the floor for the majority, if not all, of the season. Other guys we hope stay on the floor are obviously the three centers that are listed currently on the Hornets roster. Mason Plumlee, Moussa Diabate, Ryan Kalkbrenner. Those are the three guys that currently are listed at the 5 position for Charlotte, and it does feel like we talk about this subject in one form or another. We talk about one of the guys individually. We talk about the group as a whole most, if not every day, especially this summer, but that has been the biggest point. One of the biggest talking points. It's been the biggest point of contention, or it's been the biggest point of disagreement throughout the NBA with the Hornets room. It's obviously drawn most of the concern from writers, analysts, experts who are studying and preparing for this NBA season, trying to understand what each team has. The Hornets center room has obviously been the biggest point of concern, the biggest point of doubt amongst all of those people. But it's starting to feel a little weirdly, if you will, like the confidence or the belief in that unit, in the guys on the roster is starting to grow, is starting to build. I'm not sure why. I'm not really sure where it's come from, but it does start to feel like it, or it is starting to feel like there's some more just confidence from within the building, the media, the fan base, whatever it may be. It just feels like there's a little more confidence, a little more trust in the centers that we do have on the roster. And again, I could be very wrong about that. You guys could have a completely different opinion. It just does. There's been more positive light shed on that group lately than there was early in the summer. Specifically on Moussa Diabate, the hype around him is growing pretty quickly. There's been a lot of people who have watched some of his summer workouts, saw what he did while out trying out for Team France during the Eurobasket tryouts, and he looks good. He looks fast. He looks athletic. He seems to be working on his offensive game, maybe developing a little bit of a jump shot. So the hype around Moussa is building pretty quickly, but I think a lot of that comes with the questions that are around him as well. Can he be an NBA center? Can he do this? Can he step forwards in the on the offensive end of the floor? So on and so forth. All of those things that help build that hype around him as well. We also know that Mason Plumlee, as we've settled and let that marinade, as accepted the fact that he's on the roster. He is a Charlotte Hornet for the time being. We know that he can give us competent about 15 to 20 minutes a game. It's not going to be much more than that, and there's nothing flashy going to come out of it. He's not going to dominate the paint. He's not going to give you 15 and 10 in those 15 to 20 minutes, but he can be competent. He can be useful on the defensive end of the floor. He can grab some rebounds and even add some points as well in that time, but most importantly, he can provide 15 to 20 quality minutes as a veteran in the league. Obviously, Kalkbrenner is the biggest question mark of those three centers that we have listed on the roster, just mainly because he's a rookie and we just don't quite know what he's got yet. He hasn't played any real NBA minutes. But the good news is it seems to be a consensus opinion that he's already good enough, sharp enough, smart enough on the defensive end of the floor to give productive minutes, because he's really pretty much going to have to with just two guys in front of him, one of which is on the older end for an NBA player, a long-term veteran in Mason Plumlee. Just can't give you the 30 minutes a night that you would hope for from a starting center. So Kalkbrenner going to be thrust into the fire quickly. He's going to have to play probably a lot and give some productive minutes. Now, this unit, as we know, not very deep, and health is going to be vital, just as vital for LaMelo as it is for this unit. As I said yesterday on the show as well, it's going to be extremely important to keep these guys healthy and allow them to stay fresh so that they can move in and out, and the limited depth can be kind of countered in that regard. But if they could, and if they can stay healthy, I'm starting to personally believe and feel like this could be a semi-productive or even fully productive group. I really do think that Moussa is going to take that next step. I think he's going to be a very productive player for this Hornets team this season. And if all of those things happen, I think Kalkbrenner is going to develop throughout the year. He's going to continue to improve and only get better. And by the end of the season, he may be pretty settled in to his spot on the roster and be a pretty useful NBA player, especially at 7'3", with his rim protecting ability already. If he can figure out the offensive side of the NBA, he could maybe see himself getting a rather large minutes increase as the season unfolds. Now, as I said, all this belief could be just because it's September. We need something to talk about, something to believe in, a reason to get excited. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure which of those it is or where this is all coming from, but it just is kind of feeling, that's the feeling that I'm getting, is that there's some confidence growing in this center unit. And if that is the case, if they can be better than they were originally expected to be, or even than they're still expected to be, that'll play a major role in Charlotte's success in getting themselves into that play-in or playoff spot that they're hoping to get into this season going forwards, if they can get good production and be able to kind of survive with the centers that they have. That will be extremely helpful to accomplishing that goal. Now, as we've mentioned, this offseason has been very, very busy for the Hornets. There's been some moves made, some veterans brought in. We've drafted very well, added some exciting young guys due to the decision-making of Jeff Peterson and the rest of the front office. They have made a lot of moves that seem to be bolstering this Hornets roster, building for the future. But that also means there's been some winners and some losers out of these moves for the Charlotte Hornets, and we're going to dive into another Zach Roberts joint for this one. He gave his offseason winners and losers that, of course, come from within the Hornets organization. And the winners that he listed are LaMelo Ball, Charles Lee, and Jeff Peterson. Now, a little more interestingly, the losers he listed, Nick Smith Jr., not a big surprise there, but he also has Musa on this list. He has Musa Diabate listed as one of the losers from the Hornets offseason based on the moves that they made this summer. Now, the winners, they're pretty obvious. Peterson has assembled a team with a bright future. He's got an optimistic fan base for the first time in a long time here in Charlotte. He looks to have them turning around, and that culture change he's been speaking about for the last couple years seems to actually be taking effect now, not just in the building but outside of it as well. Charles Lee has benefited from this because he's got a much improved roster, a front office that shows they're serious about making the moves to make this team better and that they have his back as well. And it also feels like he's got a majority of the fan base that have his back as well, that are starting to believe in Charles Lee. I personally am one of those guys. I think he is the guy to get this thing on the right track. I think that the more time he spends with these guys, the more off seasons he has developing his players, the better that's going to be for the Hornets. Now, as I mentioned, the losers, they're a little bit more intriguing. I take a little more interest in those. Not necessarily Nick Smith Jr., of course. That's because we kind of understand why he could be described as a loser. The logjam that's been brought in that guard room, the addition of guys like Colin Sexton, Spencer Dinwiddie, drafting Con Knippel, re-signing Trey Mann, KJ Simpson. You know I got to do it. Showing off in the Summer League really has it's been an unfortunate break for Nick Smith Jr., who is not a bad player by any means, just kind of has run out of room. Now, you know my theory. I think the Hornets are going to find a way to keep him, but it seems to be growing stronger and stronger, the belief that he is on his way out. So that logjam there, that overabundance of guards in the room, just kind of by happenstance, makes Nick Smith Jr. one of the bigger losers in the offseason for the Hornets. But Musa being on this list is extremely interesting to me because I haven't seen it as him being a loser in this offseason situation by any means. Honestly, I probably would have put him on the winners list for the exact reason that Zach Roberts has him on this losers list. Roberts claims that being forced into this starting role or six-man, whatever, first guy off the bench, whatever you want it to be, the number of minutes that are definitely going to come Musa's way at the center position, being forced, let's call it the starting role, being forced into that starting role is a part of what makes him a loser. Again, that's exactly what I would have said is a part of what makes him a winner. He now gets the opportunity to start in the NBA, to play major minutes and really show off his game and what he's capable of. But Roberts feels it's the opposite. He also added that the lack of offense that Musa has, offensive skills, the offensive depth in his bag per se, the lack of that Musa possesses is going to be a bit of an issue for him, and him being thrown into the fire so fast hasn't really allowed for him to develop that offensive game, for him to sit maybe and watch or just focus on that part of the game on the practice court. Being pushed into so many major minutes so quickly has forced him to not be able to focus on that and just kind of do what he does as he tries to survive and make it and learn as he goes while out on the floor. So that's one of Zach Roberts' concerns. Again, I think Moose is probably a winner because I think he's going to take those steps forward. I think he's been doing the right amount of work this offseason to improve his offensive ability. We know that he's already one of the better rebounders in the league and is probably only going to continue to get better at that as well. So I think that if he can figure out some more tricks on offense, if he can add that jump shot that we've seen on video a few times this summer, then that can go a long ways and he can utilize this opportunity to his advantage, and instead of being a loser, one of the losers during the Hornets offseason just because he's got to be thrust into the fire as quickly as he does, he can utilize that opportunity, he can capitalize on it, and turn himself into one of the winners for the Hornets this season because he got to earn so much playing time and because he got the chance to show that he can play in this league at either the 4 or the 5, but he is a legitimate starter in the NBA. Moose is a very, very promising player. We all know that. He's got an extremely high upside, but maybe Roberts is right, and this lack of depth is at the 5 is going to be to his detriment. Maybe it does slow down his development a little bit, add some time to that progress. That's something we're going to have to wait and see. I don't necessarily agree. As you know, I think Musa is more than ready to take that next step forward and continue to develop and be a staple piece for this Hornets organization for the long-term future. Speaking of the long-term future, I told you we were going to wrap today's show up talking about the rebuild that the Hornets are currently undergoing and feels like they have been undergoing for the majority of my life, definitely as long as I can remember. Now, all that talk about the lack of depth at the center makes this sound a little bit unique, maybe even a silly question, but are the Hornets coming to the end of their rebuild? Are they almost rebuilt? Jeff Peterson, we know, has talked since he arrived in Charlotte about changing the culture, making the Hornets a winning organization, making them contenders not just in the Eastern Conference, but in the NBA as a whole. And this offseason, he's made the moves to back some of that talk up. I won't go over the additions that he's made. Again, we just did that in the last segment, but you know he's brought in proven veterans in the NBA, strong voices that can help lead these young guys and point them in the right direction, whether in the locker room, off the court, on the court, whatever that may be. Bringing in a past NBA champion, someone who is a proven winner and knows what that feels like, knows how to get to that point in Pat Connaughton could go a long way for these young guys as well. Drafting well also really, really helped Jeff Peterson, and it helped show the fan base that he is serious about moving forward and going in to the future and building a successful team here in Charlotte. Con Knipple, Liam McNeely, Sion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner, all guys that bring an extremely exciting opportunity with them. They all plan, it's all part of the plan to have them be on this Hornets roster for the foreseeable future going forward and be important pieces. They're also very young, so we know a lot about what the Hornets are hoping to do in terms of the rebuild and where they're starting from. Miles Bridges, currently the oldest projected starter at 27 years old, which is a whopping number. Kidding, of course. He is the oldest on that list of projected starters, especially if Khan finds his way into the starting lineup. That would only decrease the age around Miles Bridges, but 27 is not old. It's right in the middle of his prime. So we know that that youth is clearly on the Hornets side. They're clearly trying to take advantage of that. And so that's kind of what I mean about being almost rebuilt. They're not complete. This team hasn't achieved where they want to go, but the pieces to do the rebuilding, it's almost as if all of them are starting to fall into place. And now we can just go forwards with this actual unit and getting stronger and moving forwards into the future. As I mentioned, all of the draft picks are supposed to be a big part of the future, and if they all pan out and things continue to go according to plan, this rebuild could very much be coming to an end way sooner than a lot of people expected or thought, honestly. Now, in my opinion, I know for the rebuild or for this team to fully be, I don't want to use the word complete, but for that rebuild to be complete, because even if it is, they're not going to be a great team yet, but they have all of the pieces now to work and continue to become a great team. So I guess that would that would mark the end of the official rebuild, is when we feel as a fan base that they have developed into a team we're comfortable with and are a competitor. So I guess if you're saying when the actual rebuild is 100% over, it's going to be sometime that we feel comfortable with the development of this roster, and it's not just relying on as much youth and inexperience as the Hornets are right now. And I also think for it to fully be over, the center position does need to be a little bit more secure. Now you could think I'm talking about going out and getting a center, bringing someone in who we already know is a proven starter in the NBA, adding a piece. That may be the case, but I'm also, as I just mentioned, a big believer in Moussa Diabate. I think that with his game, we're going to find that security at the center position much faster than we think, and that it's even already in the building. I genuinely believe he's going to come out and be able to truly play that 5 and be a good staple piece for the Hornets, not just this season, but going forward into the future as well. As I said, it feels like as long as I can remember, the Hornets have been rebuilding in one form or another, trying to get themselves into contention, trying to get themselves out of the lottery pick, and it finally feels like they're making the right moves and they're on the way to actually doing that for, again, the first time in a very, very long time. Now, I'm not 100% sold that they're finished or that this rebuild is completely over or done, but I would love nothing more than to be proven wrong about that. But that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on as we continue to move towards training camp, the preseason, and the regular season. And, right here on Hornets Daily, we'll be here for you to bring it all to you. That's going to do it for today's show, folks. Thank you, as always, for watching along with us. Remember, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Leave a like and a comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are about some of the stuff going on the show. And we'll see you right back here tomorrow for a brand new episode of Hornets Daily.